Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, dear devotees. Please join us today. You're welcome to join us for the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we'll be covering Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 12, Chapter 8. Mārkaṇḍeya's prayers to Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi. Hare Kṛṣna, please join us for Jai Radha Madhava prayers. Yes. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudiriye. Shrotam Swakatha Kṛṣṇa Punya Shravana Kirtanaha Hridayantasto Bhadrani Vidunoti Suhasatam Nashtaprayeshu Abhadreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavate Uttam Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Nashtiki. Hare Krishna. So, welcome to the study of Srimad Bhagavatam. Today we are covering Canto 12, Chapter 8, Mārkaṇḍeya's prayers to Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi. Please join us in the recitation of the first verse. Shri Shaunak Uvacha
Shri Shaunak Uvacha
Sūta Jiva Chiram Sadho
Sūta Jiva Chiram Sadho
Vadano Vadatam Vara
Vadano Vadatam Vara
Tamasya Parare Brahmatam
Tamasya Pare Brahmatam
Nranam Tvam Paradarshanaha.
Nranam Tvam Paradarshana.
Shri Shaunaka Uvacha.
Shri Shaunak Uvacha.
Shri Shaunak said,
Shri Shaunak said,
Sutta,
Sutta,
O Sutta Goswami,
O Sutta Goswami,
Jiva,
Jiva,
may you live,
may you live,
Chiram,
Chiram,
for a long
for a
time.
long time,
Sadho,
Sadhu,
O Saint,
O Saint,
Vada,
Vada,
please speak,
please speak,
Naha,
Na,
to us,
to us,
Vadatam,
Vadatam,
of speakers,
of speakers,
Vara,
Vada,
O you who are the best,
O you who are the best,
Tamasi,
Tamasi,
in darkness,
in darkness,
Apare,
Apare,
unbounded,
unbounded,
Brahmatam,
Brahmatam,
who are wandering,
who are wandering,
Nranam,
Nrinam,
for men,
for men,
Tvam,
Tvam,
you,
you,
Paradarshanaha,
Paradarshana,
the seer of the opposite shore.
the seer of the opposite shore.
Translation by the disciples of His Divine Grace, A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, Srila Prabhupada. Shri Shaunak said, O Sutta, may you live a long life. O saintly one, best of speakers, please continue speaking to us. Indeed, only you can show men the path out of the ignorance in which they are wandering. Purport. According to Srila Jiva Goswami, the sages saw that Sutta Goswami was about to end his narration of Srimad Bhagavatam, and thus they urged him to first tell the story of Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi. Hare Krishna. Please join us in Guru Pranati. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Śrīmate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paśyatya Deshitarine Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Mukham Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langhayate Girim Yat Kripa Tadaham Vande Shri Gurum Deenataranam. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna. So, as we have covered in 12.5, the 5th chapter of 12th Canto, Srimad Bhagavatam is actually over, and in 12th Canto, 6th chapter, Parikshit Maharaj, he attains the supreme abode, right? He passes away and he returns back home, back to Godhead. 12.7, we discuss the Puranic literatures. Yes, there was some nice inquiries there because those Puranic literatures were in two classes. There were major 18 ones who covered the 5 subject matter, 10 subject matters, and then there are 18 minor Puranas that cover the 5 of the 10 subject matters. And what are those subject matters? Atra sarga visargascha stanam poshanam murtiha manvantare ishanu katha dirodha mukti ashaya. So, again, I'm quickly asking you to go back to understand. And the question that we will be addressing near the end of this class is, how are these 18 major Puranas divided into 3 sections based on the modes of material nature? So we'll cover that. But this is very beautiful chapter where Shaunaka Rishi, right, he is the spokesperson of the sages at Naimisharanya, and this is where Sutta Goswami is reciting the whole Srimad Bhagavatam as he had heard from Shukdev Goswami. So right here we are seeing the example of disciplic succession. He is taking instruction from Shukdev Goswami and passing it on. So he is considering Shukdev Goswami to be his instructing, teacher, so spiritual master. And then there is initiating, who was his father, Rāma, who was entrusted with all the Puranas by Srila Vyasadeva. He was disciple of Srila Vyasadeva. So that makes Sutta Goswami as grand disciple of Srila Vyasadeva, Kṛṣṇa Dvaipanya Vyasadeva. Now, here in this particular chapter, we will learn how to be steady in spiritual life to develop the pure devotion to God. How can we develop this pure devotion, the love of Godhead that we are all seeking? We all want to be happy, and the only way we can be happy is when we engage in devotional service to please Lord Kṛṣṇa. And then our senses will automatically be satisfied because Lord Kṛṣṇa is the master of the senses, Rishikesha. So, master of the senses can satisfy the senses very easily. While we, when trying to serve the senses, that will be like pouring clarified butter in fire, which will not be able to extinguish the fire. So that is also very important for us to understand. So who is Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi? So sometimes this question should be raised, right? Who is this Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi? And Shaunaka Rishi gives a reference that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, he appeared, as a descendant of Bhrigu Muni. So Bhrigu Muni is one of the 7 sages. Who are some of the other descendants of Bhrigu Muni? Shukracharya, right? He is son of Bhrigu Muni. Similarly, Shaunaka also happens to be, Shaunaka Rishi is also one of the descendant of Bhrigu Muni. And he is saying that Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi, he is wandering on this earth. And it appears that he has lived, his lifespan has been, over 2 days. So again, not just this day, but he has lived in the previous day of Lord Brahma as well. And he has seen the annihilation. So in 12.7, 12.6, we talked about, actually 12.4, we talked about the 4 categories of annihilation in this material universe. So we'll be touching base to those as well. But most important is here, the Shaunaka Rishi is afraid that Sutta Goswami will finish Bhagavatam and he will leave. And when you really like a kirtaniya, or really like a speaker, you don't want that speaker or the kirtaniya to stop. So you make an effort, once more. That's what is happening here. Shaunaka Rishi is saying, one more story for the Purana's sake. Please tell us about this great personality, Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. And he is referring after the birth of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi as how Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi had lived in the previous day of Brahma and on this day of Brahma, and he has such a large lifespan. And how is he able to get that? He's curious. Now it's very interesting about the birth story of Mārkaṇḍeya Ṛṣi. That's not covered in this, but in Srimad Bhagavatam. But I would like to share this with you because it's in Mārkaṇḍeya Purana. And it's, again, Mārkaṇḍeya Purana is not in mode of ignorance, as some people consider. It's in a mode of passion. So we'll cover those aspects near the end. So here, it's very interestingly that there used to be a Rishi by the name Mrikantu. and his wife Marudmati, they were very austere, very religious grahasthas, right? Householder life they were leading, and they were, following the religious principles to the code, right? And even in doing that, they were not happy. Why were they not happy? Somebody could say. Well, a woman, when she is married, she derives happiness by having children. So she did not have a son, he did not have a son, so they were little upset, little sad. But then they understood that we can get blessings of great personalities, right? Great Vaishnavas. So they decided to worship Lord Shiva. Because sage Mārkaṇḍeya, Mārkaṇḍeya was a devotee of Lord Shiva. And so they both worshipped Lord Shiva. And Lord Shiva, he became happy. So he appeared. And he said, yes, what do you want? So sage Mārkaṇḍeya and his wife Marudmati, they said, oh, please, we would like to have a son. Now sometimes Lord Shiva, he can be very tricky to deal with, right? He is Ashutosh, very easily pleased and very easily angered. But sometimes he likes to test out great personalities, because normally he sees demons worshipping him, and all of a sudden this nice Rishi Muni and his wife, they are worshipping him. So he says, yes, I can either give you a son who is very obedient, very well cultured, but he will only have the lifespan of 16 years. Or I will give you a son who will have a very long life, like 100 years, but then he will be a foolish son. Which one do you want? So again, you can see he is testing out how austere and how religious these two personalities are. Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi and his wife Marudmati, they without hesitation say, we would like to have the son, even though Alpayu, even though short-lived, 16 years of age only, but who is obedient, who is very well educated, who follows, the austerity of mind, body and speech, and he is interested in following. So, the Vedic life, the spiritual life, he is going to progress in. So now, Lord Shiva hears this, and he is very happy, and he says, so be it, tathastu. And then he disappears. Now, having received this boon from Lord Shiva, Mārkaṇḍeya and his wife Marudmati, they do get a son. And they name this son Mārkaṇḍeya. Now Mārkaṇḍeya from the very childhood was a very obedient son, very bright, very intelligent. He was learning Vedas very quickly. He was, again, really following as an obedient son the instructions given by his parents, and he accepts his father as his spiritual master. So Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi, he initiates his son, in the, with the Brahmanical thread and so forth, and he's very happy. Husband and wife, they are very happy, very joyfully, they are living together with their sons, and now one day they realize that Mārkaṇḍeya has reached the age of 15. So there is only one more year of his life remaining. So at that time, they start to turn little sad. And of course, children know how to detect when parents are not happy. So Mārkaṇḍeya, he was, kind of like curious. He asked his father, why are you sad? What is wrong? Can I help with anything? At that time, his father, Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi, he reveals to him that actually we got you by the boon of Lord Shiva. And he said that your life will only be up to 16 years of age. So this is your last year. And so on your 16th birthday, you will die. And this makes us very sad. Now Mārkaṇḍeya said, oh, Lord Shiva, he is Ashutosh, very easily pleased and very easily angered. And he always looks for the benefit of his devotees, right? So it is very important that we understand this aspect of Lord Shiva, that he is very forgiving, and if we pray to him, then he may give us the solution. Now, there are two references given in the Shastras. In Srimad Bhagavatam, this again, it is all about how long life he gets, but one of the reference is from Mārkaṇḍeya Purana itself, is that his father gives him. And another reference, it is Lord Brahma, who is happy with Mārkaṇḍeya's Rishi Mārkaṇḍeya's, Brahmachari Mārkaṇḍeya in this case, devotion and austerity that he gives. But nevertheless, Rishi Mārkaṇḍeya, he gets what? Mahamrityunjaya mantra. What is Mahamrityunjaya mantra? Please repeat after me. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiv Bandhanat Mrityor Mokshiya Mamritatom. So Mahamrityunjaya mantra he gets. And so he takes the instruction from his father. He goes to the, at a seashore, and he makes a nice shivling. And there he is worshipping Lord Shiva, and he is chanting on Mahamrityunjaya mantra. And so, as he is chanting, the 16th birthday arrives. Now, on his 16th birthday, as we all know, he is about to be taken away. Now, Yamdutas, when they come, what do they see? They see that this boy, who they have to take, his soul they have to take, is actually worshipping Lord Shiva, Shivling. And so, they remember the instruction, Ajamil's pastime, remember? So, they had already heard about Ajamil's pastime, and that Vishnudutas appeared and how difficult it was for the Yamdutas to take away Ajamil's soul. And so, and on top of that, this boy is worshipping Lord Shiva, and Lord Shiva is one of the Mahajan. Swayam Bhur Narado Shambhu Kumaro Kapilo Manhu Prahlado Janako Bhishmo Bali Vaya Sakirvayam. So Yamraj himself had revealed that there are 12 Mahajanas. Swayam Bhur, Lord Brahma, Narado, Devashi Narad, Shambhu, Lord Shiva. Right? So Lord Shiva is worshipping. Kumaro Kapilo Manu. So the Chatur Kumaras, Kapil Dev, son of Kardama Muni and Devahuti, and Manu, Swayambhuva Manu. Prahlado Janako Bhishma, Prahlad Maharaj, Janak Maharaj, father of Mother Sita, and Bhishma Pitamaha, Bali Maharaj, Daityaraj Bali Maharaj, and Vyasakir, Shukdev Goswami. And Vayam refers to we, but this is Yamraj is speaking, so he is referring to himself and Yamraj. So these are 12 Mahajanas. So they realize he is a devotee of a Mahajana, not safe. They return back, report to Yamraj. And Yamraj says, no, you just have to bring this boy. Lord Shiva himself said that, once he is 12 years old, he will die. So there's nothing to be afraid of. But then they say, please, our dear Lord, why don't you? Because they have been told by Yamraj himself that one should not approach a devotee of the Lord. And a devotee of a devotee is more dear to the Lord than the devotee of the Lord. So now this is a devotee of a devotee, even more dear from that perspective. Lord is Lord Kṛṣṇa. So Yamraj understands, he goes on his bull, picks up his danda, and then he goes to take Marcan De Rishi. And when he comes on his bull, having this noose in his hand and the danda, Markandeya, as soon as he sees Brahmachari Markandeya, he immediately catches hold of the shivling. He doesn't want to leave, and he is, chanting more strongly. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandhim Pushtivardhanam Urva Rukmiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mokshiya Mamritatom. He is continuously chanting this mantra. So at that time, Yamraj throws his noose, the ropes, to catch Markandeya, Brahmachari Markandeya. But what happens is, the rope falls on Markandeya but also on Shivling. So as if Yamraj is trying to not just take Markandeya but also Shiva along with him. When this happens, lo behold, the Shivling bursts open and Lord Shiva appears from it in anger. And he walks towards Yamraj, kicks him on the chest, picks up his trishul and kills him on the spot. Now what has happened? Yamraj is dead. Now this, as soon as the demigods realize Yamaraj is dead, there will be complete imbalance in the management of this universe. Who is going to punish the miscreants and who is going to provide the duration of heavenly planets to the pious people? So there Lord Brahma, Lord Indra and other demigods, they appear on the spot and they request Lord Shiva. So Lord Shiva does two things. First is, he brings back Yamaraj back to life. And second is, he says that Mārkaṇḍeya has a long life, so don't touch him, right? Dirghayu. Now, sometimes this particular aspect has been said that this particular pastime, later on also a similar pastime happens at Navadvip Dham, where Lord Shiva gives Mārkaṇḍeya a lifespan of 7 kalpas. Now, that particular pastime we are going to discuss in the next to next chapter. So, I am not going to burst the bubble because it's beautiful pastime. Here, Markandeya Rishi has been granted long life. And now, he has attained his, goal. Now, he is going to have sense enjoyment, right? No, not at all. He is an obedient son. He follows religious principles. He engages in devotional service. That's what he does. And in this chapter, some of the amazing characteristics of Markandeya Rishi have been identified. Now, one of the boon that Lord Shiva gives him is not just that he will have a long life, he will never age above 16 years old of body. So his body will not age. It will stay as healthy as that of a 60-year-old boy. And we can understand this, that's a very strong and young body. So Markandeya Rishi, now his characteristic have been glorified in this chapter by Shaunaka Rishi. He's saying Markandeya Rishi was so obedient that he would get up at the early hours, perform all religious duties, on time, right? All his japas were carried out in the Brahma Muhurat. He would perform all his duties. He would go out to ask for bhiksha, right? Madhukari, as we understand. And there, whatever he would get, he would bring it and give it to his spiritual master. Now, his spiritual master also happens to be his father, Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi. And then, when the spiritual master allows, then only he would eat once a day. Not second time, just once a day. And if his spiritual master forgets even by mistake, then he would fast the whole day without having any concern, just continuing to do his duties, to serve his spiritual master. So he's serving his father, and as time passes, he continues to engage in his austerities, in his devotion service. And Markandeya Rishi is a great devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. He understands that Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, that Lord Shiva is the topmost Vaishnava. So this reminds me of an incident where Srila Prabhupada, he was approached by some of his disciples who said that, we have been trying to preach to this gentleman, but he is a devotee of Shiva. And so it's not helping. Srila Prabhupada said, well, he would benefit if he understands that Lord Shiva is a devotee of Lord Kṛṣṇa. Right? Vaishnavanam Yatha Shambhu, Nimdaganam Yatha Ganga, Granthanam Idam Tatha, and Devanam Achyuto Tatha. So again, this is the interesting aspect of Sanskrit, that you can speak any of the phrases in any order, the meaning still remains the same. So, of all the granthas, Srimad Bhagavatam is the topmost. And of all the rivers, Ganges is the topmost. And of all the Vaishnavas, number one Vaishnava is Lord Shambhu. And of all the worshipable deities, the topmost worshipable deity is that of Lord Shri Kṛṣṇa. So he is the topmost deity to worship. So Markandeya Rishi, he is living in an ashram and he is performing austerities very nicely. And now what has happened is, Shaunaka Rishi is saying that Markandeya Rishi on the present day of Brahma, he lived through the life of 7 Manus, lifespan of 7 Manus. So, 6 Manus, and now it is the 7th Manu that is going on. Vavasvata Manu's, reign is currently going on. We are also under Vavasvata Manu's, administration right now. And so Indra realizing that Markanḍeya Rishi had been performing so much austerity, he became insecure, right? Because all we know is, as soon as somebody does 100 Ashwamedh Yagyas, he can take away Indra's spot. And this material world, it is a place of misery, Dukhalayam. Even in heavenly planet, King Indra, the king of the demigods, he is in anxiety. So there is no place on planet Earth or in this material universe that is a place of happiness. The only place, you can get happiness is in devotion service. Because when you are in devotion service, then you are not under the clutches of material energy. You are not being influenced by any of the material modes. Rather, you are transcendental to the three modes of material nature. And all our activities are called akarma. They do not have reaction. That's why. Now, as we see, Markanḍeya Rishi is performing this austerity. And so, to disturb his austerity, Indradev, he sends who? He sends Kṛṣṇa with his associates. And Kṛṣṇa, he comes with his associates along with, Apsara, Punjali, Kasthali, and celestial singers, they accompany him, along with the dancing girls, and the season of spring, and the sandalwood scented breeze from the Malaya hills flows along. And who is also, there are two personalities who are accompanying Cupid. Greed personified. Greed is said to be son of the mode of passion. And intoxication, which is the son of ignorance, mode of ignorance, personified accompanying Cupid. Now, why are these two personalities accompanying Cupid? Because Rishi Markandeya, they are expecting that he is in the mode of goodness. So we have to bring him down from the mode of goodness, because cleanliness is next to godliness. So we want to bring him away from God, which is we want to influence him with the mode of passion, mode of ignorance, and pull him down. And we have Cupid, Madan, with us, who's got his flower arrows and bow, so that he can increase the potency of the various senses 10,000 times or more, so that Markandeya Rishi won't be able to continue his austerities. And it just so happened that at that time they went to Markandeya's hermitage. And where is this hermitage? It's on the northern side of the Himalaya mountains, where the Pushpabhadra river passes, by the famous peak Chitra. So that is the specific spot where the ashram is there. And in this ashram there are many other ascetics living with Rishi Markandeya. And he has just performed his sacrificial fire oblations, and now he is sitting in meditation. This is the time when the Cupid and his followers, they approach him. And along with the breeze comes the water droplets from the fountains, carrying the aroma of the flowers in the jungle. All that is being brought, and the spring season seems to have appeared. Now we all understand that in Himalaya region, normally it appears very cold throughout the year. But because of the influence of Cupid and Indradev's desire, spring season has been, seems to appear in this region. And they are trying to entice who? Who is their target? Markandeya Rishi. Now, so they are, starting their whole play. So what happens is, this Apsara, Punji Kasthali, she is running after balls here and there with eyes flickering, as if she is just playing around. And it has been shown that her body, the jewels and other things are becoming loose, just to kind of like entice Rishi Markandeya. And the celestial singers, they start singing, and the apsaras, the dancing girls, they start dancing. And the picture is given right here in Srimad Bhagavatam. So beautiful. As how Markandeya Rishi, he is constantly in meditation. He is not disturbed at all. So, now realizing the potency of Markandeya Rishi, in due course of time, what happens? When you are a child and you are trying to disturb a snake, what would happen? Snake is sleeping, no problem. Now snake is awake, what will happen to the children? They would run hither and thither, means they have nowhere to go, means they dealt with the wrong personality. So now they understand that Rishi Markandeya is very powerful. And we all know that when you are dealing with a powerful person and you are committing offenses, there may be some bad action, coming your way, bad karmas coming your way. Just like Kapil Dev, Sagar's sons, they thought that he had taken away the ashwam, means again the horse from the ashwamedh sacrifice. And so when they approached in anger, they all burned down instantly on the spot. So similarly, there could be some reaction, and now they are fearful of Markandeya Rishi. So now they are asking for forgiveness. And Markandeya Rishi, he smiles, and so again this is also a characteristic affection of a Vaishnava. He smiles, he welcomes them, and then he makes them feel that yes, they have not done and they should leave from his ashram and continue their business elsewhere. And that Indradev, king of the demigods, doesn't have anything to fear. He is not looking after Indradev's throne. So when they come to Indralok and they tell Indradev, the king of the demigods, that we tried but we failed, and now we were fearing that we may get some bad reaction, but this Rishi is so magnanimous that he was smiling, and he told us that there is nothing to fear from me, and tell Indradev. And when Indradev hears this, he is astonished, and he is surprised to see that Rishi Markandeya is so strong spiritually. So his strength is coming from constant practice, following brahmacharya to the level, following the code properly, very strong, disciplined life. That is sometimes very important. Yet at the same time, it is better to be kind than being right. So he could have become upset and then burned down all these personalities who had come to entice him, to distract him. But he didn't do that. He simply took mercy on them, looking at their sorry state, and then he said, don't worry, Indradev has nothing to worry about. I am not looking to get his throne, rather I am looking to go back home, back to Godhead. That's his goal. So that's how he is focused on one goal. Ekaha kuru dandanaha. Lord Kṛṣṇa tells Arjuna that one who is resolute in devotion has only one goal, to go back home, back to Godhead, to attain love of Godhead. So for that we have to be steady in our spiritual practice. As a sadhak, as a practitioner, we have to engage in our devotional service, and even though we may do it with faults, we should continue to do it while looking back, introspecting, looking and on our behavior to improve ourselves, and retrospective, looking at the past events to see how we can improve in those situations if we have to face those situations again. So that is, if you fall down, no problem. Don't forget to get up. That is the important part. Those who forget to get up, they are the true failures. Otherwise, falling down is a nature. So again, human error is one of the characteristics of this material world. In conditioned life, we get that. And so, now another thing that happens is the glories of Markandeya Rishi are spreading. And they are spreading, and in the Himalayan region, there is another place near Alaknanda River, where Alaknanda River flows from. That is Badrika Ashram. And there are two great sages, the twin brothers, they live there. Who are these sages? They are none other than Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi. So they hear about Rishi Markandeya, and they are very happy to hear that Rishi Markandeya is such a wonderful soul, and he is so austere that even Cupid and his associates were not able to sway him away from his austerities, from his devotional service. So they come to see Markandeya Rishi. Now that is a very important lesson for us to learn. We all want to see God, right? But this is also one of the lessons that Srila Prabhupada said in many of his lectures, that we should serve him with so much love, with so much care, with so much attention, with so much collaboration with other devotees, that God would want to see us. Right? That is the steadiness. That's the proof of steadiness. That yes, we want to see the God, but if God Himself, if Lord Kṛṣṇa Himself wants to see us, now that is true qualification. So both Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi, they come and to Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi's ashram, to his hut, and as soon as Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi sees them, so how do they appear? One of them is black and one of them is white. Both have four-arm forms. They are holding danda, kamandalu, wearing garlands, and they have the dark deer skin around their bodies. And there is this picture in Srimad Bhagavatam where we can see Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi is paying obeisances to Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi. So here they are very pleased. And Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi, after paying obeisances, he washes their feet, gives them a proper seat, offers them arghya water, foodstuffs, nice offerings, sandalwood pulp to soothe them, and he worships them. So this is where this chapter ends. And then in the next chapter we will pick up, because Shaunaka Rishi has also said that he wants to hear about Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi who had lived through the night of annihilation. Now the night of annihilation, which annihilation it is? There are 4 categories of annihilations, right? We talked about. This is the one where Lord Brahma goes to sleep. So Lord Brahma's one day, which is Lord Brahma's, in the Satyalok, that's 12 hours, but those 12 hours are relative. So they are equal to 4,320 years on planet Earth. 4,320, 4,320,000,000. So 4,320 million years, Earth years. That is the length, duration of his day, and similar is the duration of his night. So Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi had taken birth on the previous day of Brahma. He lived through that day, and then he lived through the night of annihilation, and then he has lived through the reign of 6 Manus, and the 7th Manu, Vaivasvata Manu's reign, is currently going on. So Shaunaka Rishi had already expressed this, and in this chapter this is found, this astonishes who? Who are the personalities who are getting astonished? Lord Brahma is getting astonished. Lord Shiva himself, by whose boon Mārkaṇḍeya Rishi was born to Mrakandu and Marudmati, the Rishi and his wife, as the son, and who was supposed to die at the age of 16 years of age. Yet at the same time he is living through billions of years, earthly years, on planet Earth, and he is not aging beyond 16 years. So his body is young and strong, and he is a devotee of the Lord, following the injunctions of the Shastras to the letter. So this is how, when we take to devotional service, when we take to the chanting of the holy name, when we take to the instructions of our spiritual master, when we seek the association of pure devotees, when we want to reside at a dham, when we want to read Srimad Bhagavatam, all these activities give us steadiness. And all this steadiness comes with one simple route. Simply by raising our hand and calling out to the Lordship. Hare Kṛṣṇa, Hare Kṛṣṇa, Kṛṣṇa Kṛṣṇa, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare, Hare Kṛṣṇa. So this is where the chapter ends. Now, what happens during this meeting with Nara Nārāyaṇa Ṛṣi is the topic of next chapter. So we'll cover that chapter next time. So that's coming attraction. Now one very important aspect, one question was raised, that the 18 Puranas, what 3 categories they are. So in Padma Purana, in the Uttarakhand, 236th chapter, 19 through 21, and the 18th verse, they talk about where Lord Shiva is describing which Puranas belong to which mode. Vaishvanam Naradiyam cha tatha Bhagavatam Shubham Garudam cha tatha Padmam Varaham Shubha Darshane Satvikani Purnani Vijnayani Shubhani Vai So now he is telling who? He is telling his wife, Parvati Devi, O beautiful one, the Vishnu Puran, the Narad Puran, the auspicious Bhagavat Puran, and the Garud, Padma and Varaha Puranas all belong to the mode of goodness. They are all considered auspicious. I'll quickly cover the translation for the next two. Also know that the Brahmanda Puran, Brahmavavata Puran, Mārkaṇḍeya Puran, Bhavishya Puran, Vaman Puran and Brahma Puran belong to the mode of passion because they are full of activities. And know that these 6 Puranas belong to the mode of ignorance. So what are these? The Matsya Puran, Kurma Puran, Linga Puran, Shiva Puran, Skanda Puran and Agni Puran. So again, Lord Shiva is the one who is managing the mode of ignorance, and Lord Brahma is managing the mode of passion. So Brahma Puran in mode of passion, Shiva Puran in the mode of ignorance. Gantra Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Anant Koti Vaishnav ki jai, Nitaya Go Premanande, Hari Hari Bol. Please join us for Narasimhadev prayers. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
भगवान की जय, प्रहलाद महाराज की जय, शीला प्रभुपाद की जय, अनंत कोटि वैष्णव की जय, निताय गो प्रेमानंदे। हरि हरि बोल। हरे कृष्णा।
Hare Krishna.